to make an appointment of you tonight to one of these committees, or with the promise, as we'll establish at the end, creating a community involvement committee or something of similar nature, would you be free to waiting a few weeks before receiving an appointment?
Yes,
Totally
I certainly would.
You can promise the creation of the committee, but.
I mean, the promise of putting it on the agenda.
Don't
Yes.
undermine.
On the agenda.
Yes. I would, I serve at your discretion.
Okay. Okay, so just because I saw one more hand here, we are going to go to public comment, and at that time, I'll give a last nod to my friends up here, and then I'm making these appointments. Any last public
I
comment?
suggest you use the language, with the concurrence of the board, I feel
Excellent,
That's
thank you.
great, thank you. That's great.
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
One moment, please.
That sounds familiar.
Wanted to just throw out, I'm really surprised to see so much going on. Like, usually the Board of Supervisors, the first meeting of the year is basically ceremonial, and agenda setting is what I thought tonight would be. And I'm probably asleep at the wheel and out of the loop and don't really know all the cool people, but I had no idea what this agenda was until right before the meeting. So I don't know that there won't be some lawyers from Sacramento with a $500 suit and shiny white shoes who's gonna come out of the woodwork someday in the future and say that all these actions are somehow subject to attack under the Brown Act or not, and I hope not, and I don't really think so. But going forward, if there could be a very clear way of Brown Act noticing, because everybody I talked to wanted to know why there wasn't an agenda for this meeting and a notice of meeting posted at the Parks and Rec bulletin board, which kind of seems like a very logical place. So you probably had some Facebook page or something that some people know about, but going forward, it would be really cool to be very good about noticing agenda items.
Absolutely.
So that it's not cold, because
And this is
I really would expect that actually everything that's being done now would actually be subject to finalization at the next meeting. Because I don't think there's been an adequate opportunity for people in the public to digest and suggest other committee ideas and so on. So
Thank you. Direct response for that, and then we really have to move on. We will be discussing in one of our final agenda items of tonight, and that's with the assumption that we will be tabling some as well, procedures for future Brown Act, for future meeting preparation and follow-up is one of our agenda items. But what I must say is that this is a special meeting of the Board of Directors. A special meeting requires 24-hour notice of the Brown Act compliance. We met that requirement well before 24 hours, and we'll have a further discussion with this later. And in response to the IBRPD, we spoke with the general manager, and for something to be posted, that's part of district policy, which is very understandable, but that policy has not been approved by the board.
You'd have to take that.
Yes. And Sophia.
I just have a question. This board is an attempt to allow the people of Isla Vista to govern themselves, right? And so it just seems odd and a bit uncomfortable that for the formulation committee you chose 2 appointees and only 1 elected director, and I wanted to know why you did that choice.
So maybe I can speak to that.
I think it's my appointment.
Okay.
I have to,
Okay.
just because I think it was, and I'm sure you're more than competent to answer. But I chose the 2 individuals. Well, I haven't chosen yet. I'm moving towards choosing the 2 individuals, the 2 appointed individuals to be part of the 3, as I feel that they have the most relevant experience and knowledge in those matters. However, I'll again state this is a strictly advisory committee. All decisions will be made by the board of directors as a whole. I do understand your concern, and I appreciate you bringing it up. But based on the amount of work that we have ahead of us and really needing to dive deep and figure this out, that's why I'm moving towards recommending Director Thurlow and Director Geitz.
And the scope of work, I think, is a big thing too.
Absolutely.
The kind of work that they do.
Yes. Jeremy?
Is it a requirement that there only be 3 members?
We cannot have more than 3 or else it'll be a Brown Act violation. Any last public comment on the committee assignments that I have chosen? This will be the last time that I'm going out to the public before making the recommendations. any more public comment? Seeing none, I'm coming back to the board for final recommendations before I make my own. Director Freeman.
So I'm so sad that I'm so bad at names, but the person in the hat who I know him, but Jeff. This is a comment that I heard many times while going around and giving people the agenda and the 90-day notice, is the idea that this was a very thick agenda and that people did not feel like they had the adequate time in order to digest it.
Director Freeman, we'll be discussing this in a future agenda item on this agenda.
Okay.
So I think it's important we
Then I
have
will,
that time.
thank you. I will skip then to, a response to Ash's comment, which was about the two appointees. I heard from many people as I was handing people all of the agenda and the 90-day action plan that their biggest concern, I mentioned this earlier, was the fact that we have 2 out of 7 board members who are appointed. And I think that it essentially just, whether it's technically a problem or not, whether it's actually a good idea because these are helpful people or not, it lends the perception of a problem when you set up the formation committee such that it has the 2 appointed members on it. This is the kind of thing that Doreen Farr would always make these great comments about, that in many ways the perception of things is just as important as the actual nature of things when you're talking about conflicts and issues.
Thank you. Any other board comment?
Yeah. I just wanted to say and reiterate that I think we could have avoided a really disjointed conversation regarding the internship program and said internship committee had we not taken these items out of order. And this has made me very worried about taking items out of order now because of the fact that there was a lot of things that inform the conversation regarding the internship that were in the discussion of the 90-day plan, among other things. And I also just wanted to reiterate that I think that if there's one thing that I've seen today from our board, it's that we are not a board that is going to rubber stamp things. We are going to be attentive, and we are going to make sure that we dot every I and cross every T. And I want to reiterate, all these committees are advisory committees. They will bring back recommendations to the board. The board will then be tasked with reviewing them with a fine comb and then approving them and making sure that the policy that we put in place is something that is coherent and is something that works for the entire community. And like I said, these are committees, they are advisory committees. They should definitely stay advisory, and the board will keep its role in making sure that we don't have a situation where, there is a perception that that the public's being left out of this process.
Yeah.
Thank you, Director Jordan.
Okay, I was just wanting to make a comment, this is gonna be my last comment on this, is that I think for the productivity of meetings, it is absolutely essential that we only make comments and have discussion pertinent to the motion or discussion at hand. When we go in circles like this, we're talking about talking, and that drives me crazy. So if we could limit our discussion to only the issues at hand, that would be great. And seeing as I'm doing the exact thing that I can't stand, I'm like over it.
And I'd like to talk about talking one more time.
Director Jordan?
Aye.
Director Thurlow?
Abstain.
Thank you. That's a 6-0 vote, abstention from Thurlow. You proceed your committee assignments. So now, the last appointment that's being made tonight to a committee, unless, well, yeah, at this point, that it is the last, is myself, and that's only due to the fact that we have intention of, at the end of the meeting, discussing future agenda items where we'll discuss other committees that'll be more inclusive for all members of our board. So with that in mind, I ask for someone to make a motion.
That's kind of where I was at.
I have to think about how to say it because
Yeah.
you all directed me to
Yeah.
item listed on this agenda tonight. I'll look for my colleagues up here for more comment on that. But at this point, we've completed the business listed in 4.2, 4.3, 4.4. Even though we've done it in a very wacky order, it is completed, and for that I commend everyone, and thank you everyone out here seated for your patience. Comment.
Just I don't know, kind of going back a little bit, it might just be easier, or like that you could empower the formation committee to come up with the initial proposal for online presence for the following meeting. But it seems like you're now past that, so.
well, the only thing there would be that we cannot have a next meeting if we haven't provided notice for it. Mr. Hodge?
Oh, I was gonna point out with, you can't, with the website or putting something like that, there's all sorts of other laws you're probably aware of that you have to comply with, scannability and all these others, so. I know you guys are quite capable, but with that short period of time, complying with all that to get that presence, is that something that's doable?
Well,
So I think we have a motion on the table to combine the two items.
I rescind my motion.
Okay.
I have another
Are you
question.
closing public comment, or did you have it? Or no, you're-
Public comment will open. Hasn't
Oh,
opened
I
up
thought
yet.
that's what that was.
Oh, well, but the motion's been rescinded now, that was for that motion. But I will absolutely come to you in a moment. Director Jordan.
My question, it goes along with that, that's a great point. So if we clarify right now what we consider, like, channels of communication for the board of directors, I feel like that could definitely complicate, like, us making, like, if I made, like, a Facebook page. Do you know what I'm saying? Because then it's an official action of a board of director, because once that we declare that, put our stamp on it, you know? So,
That's what I.
it might be more it might be more confusing for us to do that at this point before, like, without us having the structures in place.
Okay, and before I call on Director Freeman, confirming we are in 4.5, before I made a motion to combine, that motion did not go anywhere. Please continue discussion on 4.5. Director Freeman.
Wait, Spencer wants to, is that, is it?
I'm going
Chair?
to Director.
Okay, so this, by the way, is despite the fact that arguably because of the fact that I do so much online stuff, is one of the reasons why I was not going to get involved in the construction of this thing, is because I know just how many laws are involved in this. UC Berkeley is right now deleting 20,000 posted videos of courses because somebody complained that they were not accessible enough to the blind, even though they had closed captioning. It is very difficult to do this correctly. However, I've watched numerous videos over the last few days about Brown Act training and various compliance, and my understanding is that the Brown Act essentially predates a lot of what we might be thinking about by doing websites and things like that, and so we actually have no legal requirement to notify a website. I will therefore state that I think that having somebody like Jonathan, who's out there in the audience doing the Isla Vista Self-Governance Initiative, running an event, I thought that worked out well as far as our online thing. I think that we needed to maybe do a little bit more of the not online parts, but I think that the online part went well. So I'm arguing that we essentially punt this website discussion to the future, particularly because of like what Natalie was saying is also the case. Some of the stuff I've been reading about online compliance with the Brown Act points out just how complex it is with serial meetings. So,
Thank you, Director Brown.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, in some ways, echo what you have to say, Jay, about the fact that it will be, I don't think that creating a website in the next week is something that is feasible. I don't think it's something that we could do in compliance with the law. I don't think that that should be something that we are considering right now. I think that what we should consider is some sort of way for, in the interim, for us to be able to distribute agendas, attachments to the agenda via the internet. One of the ideas that is discussed in this item is social media profiles. I think that what you say is a good point, though, that for those, just to clarify as a point of information, the 3rd District Supervisor's Office sent out the agenda and attachments prior to the board meeting. Though that agenda and attachments were then shared by the Isla Vista Self-Governance Initiative Facebook page and the Isla Vista as a City Facebook page. They were shared in the Facebook event as well. That same link was posted. So these documents were distributed around in that manner as well. I think that making sure that there is at least that bare minimum of accessibility for these online documents is what this entire item is about in my mind. And I think that
Maybe,
If I've taken trainings within the past 6 months, does that count?
Was it this AB required by the Assembly Bill?
I haven't
The
read it, to
university
be honest, I'm not
requires
gonna
it
lie
of
to
just
you.
about everybody.
I mean,
But
Yeah.
is it compatible? Is the
So-
university one compatible, I think is the
That's
question.
what I'm
What's that?
wondering.
Is the
It's the
university
same.
one compatible? Like, is it the same?
I would think so, because
probably the
it's
same law.
2 hour, it's the, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
we
the
should do
same
a
law.
2-hour
Yeah.
presentation.
And I think we should all look into trainings that we've had and trainings that we may want to pursue and discuss it at the next meeting.
What if we didn't have a
You need a cer-
certification or something?
Yeah, you need a certificate.
Yeah.
I don't think I got a certification.